Hi, and welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today we're going to talk about moments of transition. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser, owner, co-founder of Kale Houser Leadership, where we focus and help small businesses with their leadership structure to include how they hire, interview, the culture that they make, their core values, everything that goes into your business. And if there's something that you're struggling with, please reach out and let me know. It's something I can hopefully help you with. Shoot me an email at kale@kalehouserleadership.com or visit kalehouser.com and book a call. I'd love to jump on a call with you, either Liz or I, and we will see what you got going on and how we can help you or if we can help you. That being said, I want to talk about today moments of transition. Now, we all understand that throughout our life, there are many periods throughout our childhood, young adult, preteens, young adults, and then moving into full-blown adulthood with responsibilities and all that, that we have these moments of transition. They are, it could be you're doing a new job, you're going to a new school. Like literally there are thousands upon thousands of examples that you could come up with of like, yep, I was in a period of transition with this, right? A big one, of course, is work. As we move from job to job, or you get fired or you get hired or promoted, all those types of things, as well as relationships. Certainly there are moments of transitions as relationships are beginning or terminating or moving on, changing, adding to in the form of children or subtracting to and deaths of the family. All those types of things are absolutely moments of transition. But I want to talk a little bit more and focus on this concept of kind of the personal self, the self-development moment of transition. And this could include in your business, in your work. This could be that moment of transition where you're trying to get out of your traditional 9-to-5 job and you want to start your own business. That is a period of transition and transformation where you are, moving away from something old and into something new. Right? We understand this concept. But what I really want to focus on and help you kind of understand or maybe look at in a different way is, despite having all those, you could probably look back at a time where you got stuck in that moment. Does that make sense? And this is easy to see in many rom-coms and movies have been made about, the bad breakups and you just go off the deep end. And that's what I would consider getting stuck in that moment of transition. You had a transition away from that boyfriend or girlfriend or even potentially spouse, right? If something happens tragically, and you just go into this and you get stuck in this moment and you never transition out of it. It essentially becomes your life at that point without any improvement or progress forward. And there are times when that happens. We certainly can probably think of examples in ourselves where that has happened, whether briefly or for an extended period of time. And definitely we can see that in probably our acquaintances, whether they be family members or friends that we've seen go through these moments. Maybe getting unexpectedly laid off from a job, and it creates this moment of transition where you never really get out of that. You get on that unemployment and it gets comfortable and you kind of never get out of that. I think we've seen that at large in our country as a mass movement of people with the whole lockdowns and shutdowns and lockouts and all those types of things. People went on essentially government subsidies and unemployment, and they got comfortable doing that. It was a moment of transition due to this worldwide thing happening. And then everyone kind of got comfortable with that. And we're seeing the effects of that still to this day, several years later. But the trick of this is, and hopefully you're listening to this podcast right now because you are interested in improvement, because you are interested in learning tips and tricks and ways that you can kind of keep moving forward. The trick of these moments and these acute items that happen to you, events that happen to you in your life, is to not let them become seasons, right? Because we've always heard that term too of, that was a season of my life, and which may be, but don't turn it into a season in the form of a negative, right? That could be a season of growth. Absolutely. We can use the term season of your life in that positive term, but I'm trying to help identify and recognize these seasons of kind of negative and staleness, of stasis, where you don't grow and you don't move and you don't make any progress. And you can't let these small transitionary moments, whether they be unexpected or planned, right? Like, hey, I'm going to graduate college here in 6 months, or this is my last semester. I'm going to go through this moment of transition. How do I plan for that and move on to the next thing, rather than like, oh, this was my last day of classes, now what, right? And you're kind of stuck in that, unable to figure out what to do next and how to continue progressing and growing. But as you get stuck in these moments and they start to, instead of being that acute, and you figure out a plan and you react and you move forward, you kind of have this stalemate between your effort and your actions due to that outside circumstance. Again, whether it be a fire in your job or some unexpected loss of a client or vendor that maybe was your number one or biggest vendor or client, and you lost them unexpectedly or without warning, and you let that stalemate of your effort and your actions combine to where you create, instead of a moment of transition into something new and different and theoretically and hopefully better, into this moment of extended season of inaction and uncertainty and really lack of effort and progress. And you can't ever let those moments stop your transformation, because while you may be having moments of transition, which I think of transition, when I use that term, I use it in the sense of I'm pivoting. I'm figuring out what my actions are and what I'm going to do to continue being successful, to continue my business, to continue hiring people or firing people, and growing my industry footprint in that sense. Versus when I think of transformation, I'm talking that as far as your personal self, because there may be times that outside influence affect your business or your life where you have to transition, but you can't ever let those things stop your transformation. And that's kind of the whole crux of this podcast and this episode, is never letting those moments of transition affect your transformation. Because in reality, you should be in a constant state of transformation. You should be able to look back at your life. Now, it could be a year, that could be 6 months, that could be 3 months, a month, and go, I'm not the same person as I was, because you are purposely in this constant state of transformation. Now, I'm not saying that this is, let me kind of delineate the two terms here. Transitionary moments is, you may be trying things and, succeeding or failing and trying and, different things that you're trying to figure out. Those are all transitionary. But the process and the personal growth and development, that transformation in yourself and how you do that, and you're learning from those mistakes and learning from those failures, that's what I'm referring to, is never letting those acute failures stop that transformation overall in how you proceed to do life and attack life and get after it in that sense. But if you can look back at your life, if you can say, okay, this podcast is coming out in October of 2022, and you can look back and say, well, where was I last October of 2021? Like, oh, I was doing the same exact thing I was doing now, which, maybe this absolutely may be the case. You have the same business, doing the same job, maybe have similar friends. But you should be able to look back and say, well, no, I had this kind of outlook, and now I'm looking at this, or these are my new goals or targets. This is how I've expanded my sphere of influence in my community. All those things, because you have been transforming and progressing. And that's really kind of the whole key of the thing. But if you can't look back and see how you're different now, and again, whether that's 6 months, a year, definitely, 5 years, 10 years, you should not absolutely be the same person that you were. Then you really are stuck. You have gotten into what I would call a season of non-transformation, a season of comfort. It could be because you may be absolutely comfortable in your business. You may be making a good wage. You've got great clients. You've got great employees that work for you, but you've made the same revenue every single year for the past 5 years. You hit, say, 1.3 million every year for the last 5 years, and it pays all your bills. You get to take your 1 or 2 vacations. Your employees are happy. Everyone's just kind of cruising along. But there's no improvement. There's no increased revenue. There's no new challenges. Like, you are the same person that you are now as you had been the last 5 years, and that's really the problem. That is not at all what this podcast is about. This podcast is not about trying to get you to a level of achievement that, hey, you've arrived and now you can just coast. Because if you're just coasting, you're kind of just dying. right? Everything else around you is expanding and growing. That's kind of the rules of our universe. And if you're just coasting and trying to keep that status quo and never challenging yourself, never growing or never taking risks, then you are stuck in a season of non-transformation. And that's not what we want to do that. And as you look back at that, if that is the case with you, as you look back and say, okay, well, these are the areas that I have grown, because there may be some that you have and some that you haven't. And I'm not saying everyone's perfect and that, definitely not me. And I'm growing in every sense of, my physical and my mental and my spiritual and my health and all those things, because, there are ups and downs, certainly. But you absolutely should be able to look back and identify those areas that need more work. Those areas that like, oh yeah, I've been kind of slacking off, or I got comfortable over here with my fitness because, hey, in my 20s and 30s, my metabolism did all my work for me. And now that I've gotten into my 40s, maybe I can't eat out 5 nights a week and have, 32-ounce steaks and mashed potatoes and cheesecake for dessert every night and still expect to weigh, 150, 140 pounds, whatever it is that you are, as your body changes and you go through that. But on the other hand, you could look back and say, yeah, man, I've increased the revenue of my business by 30% in the last 2 years. Like, that's incredible. Keep going. That's awesome. And there are some of these disconnects. And the whole point of this is to kind of get you to try to identify where those areas of improvement could be made, so that, and it may have been due to an acute transition that you had to make in the past, and other things, right? Because we all can absolutely get subject to overwhelm, and as things come at us from all kinds of different angles, and we have to prioritize. But start thinking about how can you continue to make those small improvements in those other areas that you may be lacking in your past, or in your recent past and present, if that makes sense. I absolutely am doing this now, because I have noticed in the last couple of years, and not on the good sense of I have stayed stagnant, like with my health and my weight. Like, as I'm getting older, I started putting on some pounds, and my health has started to deteriorate a little bit. I can absolutely feel it in my body. I am not the same person I was even 5 years ago, even 2 years ago or last year. And I finally identified that, and like, I've got to do something about this. Even though I'm having these successes in these other areas, this is an area that I've been lacking in. And, between my wife and I and our family, we put some processes and things in place in the form of, hey, we joined a gym and we're going to commit to, taking these classes and at least starting that lifestyle to be more healthy and figure out how to eat healthier and not have pizza, 5 nights or 4 nights a week and all those types of things, even though our kids would absolutely love it. And we understand that we have reached that point in our life where, even though we could do that, in our younger years and really not suffer any consequences for it, we are no longer in that stage, and we have had to make adjustments. And that's all just part of our transformation into being as best as we can as we get older and as we continue to grow, and being examples to our kids, if that makes sense. So really kind of look at and analyze, have there been moments of transition in your life that maybe have caused a stalemate in your effort, in your action? Have there been moments that, yes, while they may have been extreme, they may have been absolutely drastic or just earth-shattering in their effect on you, did you allow them to stop you? Did you allow them to hinder your progress as a person, as a leader, as a boss, as a husband, as a wife, as a son, daughter, brother, sister, right? All those things, father, mother. Did that event allow that or stop that transformation? And I would highly encourage you, if it did, and you can be honest with yourself and analyze that and figure that out, come up with a plan to kind of overcome that. And it may be as drastic as seeking counseling. If it was such an event that like it legitimately kind of cracks something inside the mental synapses, then yeah, counseling may be in order. But if it is something as simple as, or not as simple, but as more mundane as, yeah, I started putting on weight because I'm, not eating as healthy and all those types of things, then that's more easily overcome with, a different mindset. So I would love to hear it if you have any comments on that. If I'm way off base in my interpretation of this, absolutely, please let me know. Excuse me. I would love to hear from you. So thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I hope that was beneficial in helping you kind of just look back and kind of do some self-analysis and self-evaluation to how you can continue your progress and betterment every single day. Because shoot, even half of 1% improvements every day, you're going to be a phenomenal person by this time again next year. All right, no matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.